You check the weather before a flight. You check the forecast before a hike. But you have never once thought about what your body would do in the first 60 seconds after a ship sank beneath you. Most people haven't. Most people assume they would swim. Most people are wrong. Here's the strange part. The thing that kills you first isn't the ocean itself. It isn't the size of the waves. It isn't even the sharks your brain immediately imagines. It's a reflex. A reflex older than language, older than tools, older than you. And it activates in under 2 seconds. So think about the last time you jumped into a cold pool or stepped into a cold shower by accident. You gasped. Maybe you yelped. That gasp is not a choice. It's called the cold shock response, and physiologist William Keating spent decades studying exactly what it does to the human body. When skin temperature drops suddenly, your body triggers an involuntary intake of breath. On dry land, that's harmless, maybe a little embarrassing. In open water, with a wave breaking over your face at the exact moment you gasp, that same reflex can flood your lungs before you've had a chance to think the word help. This is the part almost nobody understands about ships sinking. You don't have minutes to make smart decisions. You have seconds. And your body, in those seconds, is not fully under your control. It is running an ancient program written for rivers and cold coastlines, and it does not know or care that you are wearing a life jacket, or that rescue boats are 20 minutes away, or that you are, technically, a strong swimmer. So picture it, not a movie version, the real version. The hull tilts, slowly at first, then not slowly at all. Alarms cut through conversation. People who were laughing 30 seconds ago are now gripping railings that are no longer level, watching cups and plates slide across tables at an angle that feels, well, physically wrong. Then comes the water, cold, dark, and moving faster than anyone expects, filling corridors that were designed to feel safe and solid. You go in, and the gasp reflex fires immediately, whether you're ready or not, whether you train for it or not, whether you're 25 or 65. Your heart rate spikes almost instantly. Blood vessels near your skin clamp shut to protect your core, a process researchers call peripheral vasoconstriction. Your chest tightens. Breathing becomes fast and shallow, almost like panic, except it isn't panic, it's physiology. It's your ancestors' bodies, built for a world without heated homes or synthetic life jackets, reacting exactly the way they were designed to react. Your body is trying to save you using instructions written tens of thousands of years before anyone had ever built a ship large enough to sink. So here's the twist most people never hear. Cold water doesn't kill you the way movies suggest, with a slow, sleepy fade into unconsciousness. Gordon Giesbrecht, a researcher who has spent his career studying cold water immersion so thoroughly that colleagues nicknamed him Professor Popsicle, broke survival into distinct stages. And the first stage, the one that kills the most people, isn't hypothermia at all. It's drowning, caused by that first violent minute of shock. Hypothermia, the slow cooling of the body's core, usually takes 30 minutes or longer to become fatal. Most people never even get there. Most people are gone long before the cold has a real chance to finish the job, which means the deadliest part of a shipwreck isn't the ship, it isn't the structure failing or the lifeboats running out, or even the freezing temperature itself. It's the first 90 seconds in the water, and almost no one prepares for that because almost no one knows it exists. We train children to swim. We rarely train anyone to survive the shock of entry. Now here's where the story turns from biology into history. In April of 1912, in water sitting just below freezing, more than 1,000 people went into the North Atlantic when the Titanic sank. Survivors in the lifeboats later described a sound drifting across the water, not screaming exactly, something closer to a low, constant moan, coming from hundreds of people at once, all experiencing that same involuntary gasp response in the dark, far from any rescue. Nearby lifeboats floated within earshot. Many of them were only half full, and yet almost none of them turned back. Why? Because the people already in the boats were terrified. The freezing water would pull them under too if they tried to reach the people still swimming. Fear, layered on top of physiology, layered on top of darkness and confusion and the simple human instinct to protect the people already safe beside you. That's not cowardice, even though history has often judged it that way. That's the same nervous system doing exactly what it evolved to do across thousands of generations. Protect the individual and the immediate group first, even when part of you desperately wants to help the people just out of reach. Decades later, oceanographer Robert Ballard located the wreck nearly 4,000 meters down on the ocean floor, split into two separate pieces. His expedition helped settle a question historians had argued over for years. The ship didn't sink in one clean piece the way early illustrations imagined it. It broke apart under enormous stress, exactly the way steel behaves under extreme cold combined with extreme structural pressure. Cold doesn't just attack human bodies, it attacks steel too, making it brittle in ways engineers didn't fully understand at the time. And Titanic isn't an isolated case study tucked away safely in the past. In 1994, the ferry Estonia sank in the Baltic Sea in the middle of the night, in a storm, in water that was brutally cold even by Baltic standards. 852 people died in under an hour, many of them never making it out of their cabins before the angle of the ship became too steep to climb. Investigators later studied survivor accounts and found the same pattern researchers like Keating had already documented in laboratories decades earlier. The people who survived weren't necessarily the strongest swimmers or the most athletic passengers on board. They were often the ones who happened to be dressed, awake, and near an exit already. The ones for whom the gap between disaster and open air was shortest and the initial shock had the least time to do its damage. Survival, it turns out, often has less to do with heroism than with proximity and timing. Two things almost entirely outside your control once the moment arrives. Which raises the question you're probably already asking. Could something like this still happen today? You'd think not. You'd think radar, satellite tracking, and modern hull design made mass maritime disaster a relic of the past, something that belongs in black and white photographs rather than the present. But ships still vanish. Cargo vessels the length of 3 football fields have gone down in violent storms within the last 20 years, sometimes with barely a distress call reaching land before contact was lost entirely. Search and rescue teams today still race against that same 90-second window, the same cold water physiology, the same reflex Keating you first documented decades ago in a laboratory, far from any ocean. The tools have changed enormously. The human body underneath all of it has not changed at all. Modern shipping still moves an enormous share of the entire global economy across open water, quietly, mostly unnoticed, mostly uneventful. That's exactly why the rare disaster catches everyone off guard. We've built an image of the ocean as tamed, mapped and monitored, tracked by satellites that can spot a vessel from orbit. And in one sense, that's true. But satellites can watch a ship in trouble. They cannot slow down a wave or warm freezing water or reach a person in the first 90 seconds after they go under. Technology solved the problem of finding you. It never solved the much older problem sitting inside your own chest. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. If you fell into cold water right now today, and whatever ocean, lake or harbour happens to be nearest to you, your body would do exactly what those Titanic passengers' bodies did in 1912. The gasp, the vasoconstriction, the racing heart, the tightening chest, the sudden loss of fine motor control in your fingers within minutes. None of that has evolved away in 100 years or 1,000. You're running the same emergency software your ancestors ran, installed on a body that has no idea it's the 21st century, no idea what a life jacket is, no idea that help might genuinely be on the way. There's another detail buried in Keating's original research that rarely makes it into the popular version of this story. He found that the strength of the cold shock response actually fades with repeated exposure. People who regularly swam in cold water, even casually, showed a measurably smaller gasp reflex than people encountering cold water for the first time. In other words, the body can be taught slowly and carefully to trust itself a little more. It's one of the only pieces of good news buried inside all of this. The reflex is ancient, but it isn't fixed. It responds in a small way to experience, the same way almost everything about human physiology quietly adapts to whatever environment it's repeatedly asked to survive in.